Hello, my name is Farah and this is my friend Zoe, and I would like to introduce...
I'm Paul Nash. I'm an independent reviewing officer with Birmingham CICC IRO service.
We're here to tell you what a review is, and we have Paul here who is an expert on it. Can you explain what an IRO is?
An IRO is it's the person who's appointed by the local authority. The government says that every child who's in care should have a named IRO. And they're appointed by the local authority, and they work with young people who are in care, children and young people in care, to ensure that they have a care plan that meets their needs. As part of that role, they also chair each child's CICC review and ensure that they work with that child and the local authority to make sure the plans work. And their role is independent. It's independent to what's called the case management. So children in care will have a social worker, and their social worker will have a team manager and other managers and other people, and there could be contact workers, and there could be all sorts of other people. The IRO is somebody who's independent to those people and is there specifically to understand and make sure that children in care have good care plans that meet their needs.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain what a review is?
Okay, well, if what happens is because when a child or young person is in care, there's a lot of things to think about, including where the child or young person lives, who they're going to see, how they're going to see their family, what's going to happen in the long term, and people call that permanency planning or long-term planning. There's also to make sure that they're actually getting good education at school, and making sure that because they may have moved out of home and because of other things they are moving around, and actually all their needs, health needs, all development needs are met. So what the review does, it actually means every so often you have a meeting which is chaired by the IRO and should include the child or young person and their family and their social worker, and will look at what their care plan is and make sure that care plan covers everything they need, what's called care arrangements, and making sure that there's a clear plan about how the needs of that child or young person is going to be met. Yeah, so that's what review does. They happen quite regularly, so when you come into care for the first time, you'll have a review. It says within 28 days, so that's with 4 weeks of you coming to care, you have your first review, and then you'll have another one in another 3 months' time, and then after then you'll have one once at least every 6 months. So it's usually twice or possibly 3 times a year. Yeah.
Why is an IRO needed?
IRO is needed, and what happened was when the government created the role of the IRO and has expanded that, they actually said that, and I do know that social workers and the teams will obviously work very hard to try and make sure that children and young people's needs are met. But the government were concerned that sometimes, because they have such a lot of responsibilities, they can sometimes take their eye off what's best for the child and young person. And they also wanted the IRO to take an independent view of what was planned. The IRO, one of the main functions of the jobs of the IRO is to make sure that the IRO understands the child and young person's views and what they think about their situation, and to make sure that what the child and young person thinks about their care plan and what they think about where they're living and all the matters in their life, that those things are included in how their care plan is set up. So the government said it would be really good to have somebody who's independent and all the other people working with the child and young person. And that doesn't mean to say those other people are not doing the best they can. Most of the time we hope they are. But the idea of the IRO was to have somebody outside and could say, actually, I think that's really good, but I think that could be different, and to be, if you like, the ears of the child and young person within all that, because there's such a lot going on. Yeah. So that was why IROs were created, the job was created. Yeah.
What are the responsibilities of an IRO in and out aside of a review?
Okay, well the IRO, it's written. There's a big book called the IRO Handbook, which is a book which IROs, we all have to look at and we know. And what that sort of says is, it says we have to monitor the care plan. So one of the things we have to do is to make sure that the care plan's in place. And between reviews, the IRO is supposed to be in contact with the social work team and children's social workers and with other people to make sure that plan's progressing. They're supposed to be aware of what's happening, so if there's children's plans are in court, they're talking to their guardians. They're also supposed to be in contact with the child and young person if the child and young person wants that, and will be checking things out with them between that period of time, between the reviews. Yeah. So what happens is their main, the big function is the review, but actually IROs are expected to keep a watching eye. Yeah. Keep a watching eye of what's going on for the child and young person, and I call it like keeping a bit of a helicopter view. So sometimes, you know, if you've ever seen a helicopter, so sometimes the IRO will come and see the young person, so the helicopter will come right down. But if you get, I've had experience being a helicopter watch, you go up to the helicopter and you can see everything that's going on around from a different way. So IROs really should keep a bit of what I call a helicopter view of what's happening for the child and young person, and every so often, and also if the child and young person wants them to be involved, they should bring the helicopter down a bit to see what's going on and probably focus on particular things for that child. So IROs behave like helicopters sometimes.
Are IROs just for reviews?
They're not, because actually the IRO, it's every child in care, that what they call it has a named IRO. So if you're a child or young person in care, I ought to be able to come to you and say, do you know who your IRO is? Because you will have a named IRO. Now sometimes that will change because with all things people move and change and other things. But that person stays and thinks about the needs of that child through their time in care. So every child in care, whilst they remain in care, will have an IRO who should be taking an interest, and I would say an active interest, in what's going on for that child and young person.
What is your idea of a perfect review?
Right, a perfect review for me would be a review where I think child or young person would feel comfortable being part of that. Yeah, that's where there's at the end of that review. Now, it's probably the perfect review is what happens at the end of it. Really, the end of it will be that there's the child or young person has a really good care plan, which meets their needs, and that they understand. Yeah. And I'm not always going to say always agree with, but they understand why, and sometimes, you know, and making sure that actually at the end of it, the child and young person comes away from that meeting thinking or believing that actually people working with them are taking seriously what's going on for them, yeah, and that there's a clear view of what's going to happen, and also who's going to do it, yeah. So. And I think a perfect review for me would be where the child and young person knows that as well. Not just the IRO, not just the social worker, but actually child and young person thinks, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen there. Yeah. So, and in the review, there would be opportunity, if the child and young person wants to attend, for them to be able to feel comfortable in that meeting. And, you know, and so what should happen is the IRO and your social worker should have a bit of discussion and say, well, how do we want this review to take place? Because sometimes there may be people you think, well, I'm not really sure I really want them at my meeting. We might need to know what they have to say, but you may not, as a child in care or whatever, you might not want that person in the meeting. So that discussion should happen. That would be the perfect review. So the people who are there are the people who the RO and the social worker have talked with the child and young person about. They know, and so everybody knows why they're there. And people aren't just coming to a meeting to hear information, yeah? Because I have come across that sometimes where people at reviews think, well, I've come because I need to know. Well, no, they don't need to know. They need to come because they're offering something for that child and young person. So it's a perfect review. It doesn't go on too long so that everybody's getting bored, but it's focused and everybody comes away thinking and understanding what's going to happen. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes I would probably say it might be a good review, and some people might think if people want refreshments, they can have refreshments. A good review would be if they wanted a break in the middle of it, they could have a break. Yeah, and also a perfect review will be a review where the child and young person who's attending that review feels comfortable attending. Yeah, does that make sense? So to be somewhere that they feel is comfortable. I think so often, and I do when I do talk to children and young people in care, sometimes I think they sort of say, well, I didn't really want my review there. And I'm thinking, well, they should, you know, because actually, if you have a review somewhere you feel comfortable, then you're more likely to be able to participate better in that than if you have somewhere where you don't feel so comfortable. And, you know, but I wouldn't want to say what's comfortable or not, because I think that is between the IRO and the child and young person. Yeah.
Has anything ever gone wrong in your meetings?
I would say lots of times. I don't know, things, I would say, in a sense, it depends what we mean by things going wrong, really, yeah? I think there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I think I would, as I want to talk about perfect review, I think a review goes wrong when everybody comes out of that meeting or review feeling they're really upset with what's going on. Yeah, that's, you know, it's not good if people don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, things can go wrong because sometimes, and it's a bit like if you have a meeting where things are said, sometimes people can say something and they may not even mean it to be upsetting, but it is upsetting. Yeah, and you know, and I feel very, very privileged being an IRO, because I feel very, very privileged because what IROs talk about is about children and young people's lives. And that, I can, you know, can imagine actually for a child and young person coming into a meeting where there's a whole bunch of people talking about my life is really, really difficult place to be. And so I do anticipate sometimes that people may get upset by stuff, and that's okay. And I don't know whether that's wrong, but I don't think reviews can go wrong in themselves. Things can happen, and I think a wrong review is when actually, particularly when children and young people feel upset by what's happened. Yeah, and you know, and actually not just feel upset, but actually feel that they haven't been listened to. Yeah, I think sometimes I might feel upset because actually there's something going on which they're not happy about, but actually if it's children and young people feeling they're not listened to. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's a common phrase, never work with children or animals. Why did you choose to work with children? Would you prefer to call them vet?
There might be a common phrase for some people. I think for me, probably a common phrase, I don't really want to work with animals. But so you know, there's a distinction. Actually, I mean, well, personally, I've worked with children as a social worker for many years, and I really do enjoy working with children. I think children and young people, they actually offer a lot of insight. They actually, you know, there's a lot of interest in what goes on and a lot of energy, actually. And sometimes one of the things that really is positive about working with children and young people is the energy, which actually, when you get adults and start getting older people, the energy isn't there so much. So that's really one of the more exciting things. And I would hope that actually as an IRO we can make a difference for children and young people for better outcomes and better life chances and other things as well. That's my hope and what I would like to do.
Would you like to add anything else?
That depends.
Depends.
Yeah. I have to say, thank you very much, and actually it's been really, really good talking to you guys and being able to share a bit about what you do. I hope actually what I've shared has been helpful for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's nice meeting you.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Awesome.